So each of us will introduce the next person on the other list here.
Okay.
Excuse me. Testing. Is this live? Okay. Good afternoon. As I've said before, well, I'm Congressman Jerry Nadler, Chairman of the Judiciary Committee. As I've said before, we are facing a constitutional crisis. We have a president who believes he is above the law, which he is not, and refuses to be held accountable, which he will be. For 2 years under Republican control, President Trump and his administration were able to evade accountability and transparency with the American people. I am standing here with my colleagues today to say that era is over. President Trump has vowed to fight all of the subpoenas from all of the House committees. He has claimed absolute immunity to prevent witnesses from showing up. He has loosely and inappropriately invoked executive privilege to prevent us from seeing millions of pages of documents. Despite the continued stonewalling, delay tactics, and distraction by Trump and the administration, we will move forward with holding this president accountable to the American people. The resolution passed today will allow Congress to enforce our subpoenas in the courts so that we can carry out our constitutional duty to conduct oversight, uncover evidence, and hear from key witnesses. We will continue to work in good faith with Attorney General Barr and the Department of Justice over access to the underlying evidence from Special Counsel Mueller's investigation, as announced yesterday in our agreement with the Department. We will move as quickly as possible to go to court against Don McGahn, the President's former counsel, and any subsequent witnesses who disobey a committee subpoena. We are going to move quickly to court for access to grand jury material in the Mueller report. We will continue our hearings and investigative work related to what was uncovered in the Mueller report. Yesterday, we held a hearing with former Nixon White House counsel John Dean and former U.S. attorneys Joyce Vance and Barbara McQuaid, who testified that the actions described in the Mueller report warranted prosecution for obstruction of justice, be it President Trump or any other individual. Of course, the Department of Justice's rule saying that presidents cannot be indicted prevents the president's indictment, but the testimony yesterday was that any other person would most certainly have been indicted, probably convicted, on the basis of the evidence laid out in the Mueller report. We have other subpoenas outstanding, including for Hope Hicks and Annie Donaldson. And if they don't show up when they're supposed to, they will be the targets of court enforcement. We also are seeking to hear from other key figures and fact witnesses noted in the Mueller report, such as Joseph Hunt and Rick Dearborn. We must be clear. No one is above the law, and no one is exempt from congressional subpoenas. We can and will do everything in our power to hold this president and administration accountable to the American people. The resolution we passed today in the House is an important step in that direction. I now yield to Elijah Cummings, the chairman of the Oversight and Investigations Committee.
Thank you, Joe. Today marks a pivotal moment for Congress and our ability to conduct oversight as an independent branch of government. None of us wanted to be in this position. But the Trump administration is challenging the very constitutionality of congressional oversight, and it is happening in broad daylight. This is not just about Russia. This is a broad, coordinated campaign to stonewall investigations across the board. And it is being directed from the very top. This entire year, the White House has not produced not one document to the Oversight Committee. Let me say that again. In all of our investigations, the White House has not turned over one single shred of paper in response to any of our requests. The hurricanes in Puerto Rico, the White House has produced nothing. Security clearance abuses, the White House has produced nothing. Efforts to transfer nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia, the White House has produced nothing. Hush money payments, the White House has produced nothing. Even on issues like spending taxpayer dollars to pay for private jets, the White House has, again, produced nothing. It does not matter what the topic is. The tactics are all the same. And this begs the questions, what are they hiding? What are they hiding? The Oversight Committee is being forced to vote tomorrow on whether to hold the Attorney General and the Secretary of Commerce in contempt of Congress for refusing to produce documents relating to the census and the census. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we're here in a fight for the soul of our democracy. And we will use every single tool that is available to us to hold this administration accountable for its actions and ensure the government is working effectively and efficiently on behalf of all the people. Now it gives me great honor to introduce the distinguished Chairman of our Rules Committee, Mr. McGovern.
So the resolution that we passed today should be a sign to the administration that Congress is a co-equal branch, and we intend to act like it. You can either work with us and comply with the subpoenas, or we'll see you in court. The way this administration is behaving and not turning over documents, ignoring subpoenas, and covering up misdeeds is not normal. We simply can't dismiss it as another temper tantrum from Donald Trump. We have to confront it for what it is, the President of the United States ignoring the rule of law, behaving more like a king than a president. This resolution that we passed today gives the judiciary the authority to go to court to enforce the subpoenas against the Attorney General and Don McGahn. But there's another part of this resolution that restates House rules that empowers the other committee chairs, some who are not overseeing the Mueller investigation, but nonetheless are being stonewalled by this administration to be able to go to court as well, to be able to get the documents that they need to do their proper oversight. They need to obviously go work with the bipartisan legal advisory group in order to move forward, but that is the way it has been done, and it is the right thing to do. The bottom line is this, no Congress should stand for this obstructionism and for this stonewalling and for these cover-ups. And I'm relieved that today this Congress made it clear that we will not stand for this. And it's now my honor to turn this over to the Chairman of our Intelligence Committee, Congressman Adam Schiff.
I thank my colleagues for their leadership on this issue. Right now, Democrats are pressing our case to get information from the administration. We are pressing that case in the courts, and we are winning in the courts. Already we have won two critical cases in the district courts with the Intelligence Committee, the Financial Services Committee, and the Oversight Committee. We're getting critical documents related to the Mueller investigation from the Department of Justice, and we are seeking much more. And today we added a new tool to our arsenal to make sure that the committee chairs can compel answers and enforce subpoenas. We're building the case, and we're doing so in a transparent way. Ultimately, this is not about Donald Trump or Donald Trump alone, and it is not about simply this Congress. Ultimately, this is a fight over whether any Congress can oversee any president, whether any Congress in the future can hold a president accountable for corruption, for criminal activity, for malfeasance, or simple incompetence. So there's a great deal at stake. If we can't do our oversight of this administration, it means that any president in the future, Democrat or Republican, can act with impunity, can be as corrupt as they choose without consequence. In the Intelligence Committee, we are already reviewing documents that go to the counterintelligence and foreign intelligence aspects of the investigation. But there is still a great deal that we do not know. We cannot, for example, get a simple answer to the question of whether this investigation that began as a counterintelligence investigation is ongoing, whether there remain people who are under investigation as potential witting or unwitting agents of a foreign power. We cannot get answers as to whether exceptions were made to the security clearance process because of nepotism or for other illicit purpose. We cannot get these and many other questions. We're trying to find out the answers as to why a witness before our committee last week had his written testimony withheld from our committee on the issue of climate change. These and other questions are of vital importance to our oversight responsibility. And this is why we are determined to keep up our effort. Tomorrow we will be having a hearing in the Intelligence Committee on Volume 1 of the Mueller report, and in particular on the counterintelligence aspects of that investigation. We will hear from former high-level officers of the FBI that specialized in counterintelligence and ran the National Security Division to talk about how counterintelligence probes can be every bit as serious as a criminal investigation, and when it comes to influencing the direction of the country, potentially even more compromising. So we are determined to get answers, and today's floor action will help us do exactly that. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Eliot Engel.
Thank you. Remember when you were a kid and you got this sheet which said how a bill becomes a law? Forget it, tear it up. Remember when you learned that there were co-equal branches of government and our Constitution was really a model? Forget it, tear it up. This president and this administration doesn't think that Congress has any role to play in anything. And that's why we're here to tell the American people that we are not going to stop until we get to the truths of all the issues of contention. We are a co-equal branch of government. We have the right to get information for the American people, and we believe that illegally this administration is preventing that from happening. Now, the Mueller report revealed disturbing information about Russian government connections with the Trump campaign and Putin's attack on our democratic system to help get Donald Trump elected. The Foreign Affairs Committee is trying to get to the bottom of the president's communications with Putin. We're also working to get to the truth about other critical issues, including personal conflicts of interest that may be driving foreign decisions, and the administration's recent decision to declare a phony emergency and bypass Congress on arms sales to Gulf countries. Now, there was a hold. We put a hold on these arms sales to Saudi Arabia. The president's administration decided they were going to knock it off with one fell swoop and cause an emergency, claim there's an emergency when there clearly is none, and therefore override the Congress in terms of being able to block these arms sales. Again, the executive trying to crush the Congress and not allowing us to work our will. Foreign Affairs Committee tomorrow will hold a hearing on this, and we expect it to be very lively because, once again, it's another way that this administration is undermining American democracy. We're also looking closely at how the administration is undermining and mismanaging the State Department and the USAID, America's world-class diplomacy and development corps, whose employees keep us safe and advance our interests around the world every day. But again, what is it with Trump and Putin? What is that when they had the meetings way back when in Helsinki or any other place? We can't get information because this administration thinks we don't have a role to play. Well, we're up here united, saying that we have a role to play. The Constitution is on our side, and we will not allow this president, this administration, nor any president or any administration to try to bypass and sabotage the Constitution. We're literally fighting for the soul of the Republic of the United States of America. We don't intend to lose. And now it's my honor to call on Maxine Waters, our distinguished chairman.
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon. In the face of unprecedented stonewalling by the Trump administration, the passage of this resolution, HRAS 430, is so important in ensuring that committees are able to carry out our constitutional responsibilities efficiently. The ability for us as committee chairs to proceed with civil litigation when authorized by the Bipartisan Legal Advisory Group without the need for a floor vote is key to ensuring that committees can quickly and efficiently hold officials who have not complied with our duly authorized subpoenas accountable. With an administration that continuously tries to implement delay tactics, each measure we take to ensure speed and efficiency is essential. Who does this president think he is? He carries on like a dictator or a crime boss, publicly saying things like, and I quote, "We're fighting all subpoenas, and I don't want people testifying. In the United States of America, no one is above the law. My colleagues and I are committed to carrying out our oversight responsibilities. In the Financial Services Committee, we're conducting an investigation into the integrity of the U.S. financial system, bank safety, loan practices, and anti-money laundering practices, including as they are applied to and involve the accounts of this president and his family members. As part of that investigation, we have subpoenaed documents from several financial institutions, including Deutsche Bank and Capital One. The president has, of course, attempted to stonewall and has sued Deutsche Bank and Capital One to prevent the committee from obtaining the documents. But we are continuing to fight for those documents and asserting our rights as a co-equal branch of government. So I want to thank Chairman McGovern for his work on this resolution, and I thank all of my fellow chairs for their work to conduct important oversight. Thank you.
Chairman Nadler, you talk about the court fights that are about to, they may now ensue in the aftermath of this resolution. But won't your hand in court be strengthened if you were actually to launch an impeachment inquiry?
The lawyers tell us that in weighing the equities between the competing claims of the executive and the legislative branches, we have very substantial powers. The congressional power is at its zenith in an impeachment inquiry. How much of a difference it is a different question.
Do you still support moving forward with an impeachment inquiry?
I've never said I did. I'll simply say all options are on the table. That's all I'm going to say publicly.
Mr. Nadler, are you still planning to subpoena Mr. Mueller on the timeline that was reported last week? When would we expect to see that?
We'll get Mr. Mueller's testimony soon enough. I hope we don't have to subpoena him, but if we have to, we will.
How would you characterize the document?
Can you shed light on this deal that you've reached with the Department of Justice? What are the documents that you're going to be able to review?
Well, it's basically, remember, we asked for the for the redacted portions of the report and for the underlying documents, the underlying evidence, et cetera. What we're going to get is the redacted portions of Volume 2, that is the obstruction of justice, not the Russian attack volume. Not including the grand jury information. For that, we're going to go to court promptly, but we always anticipate having to go to court for that. And we're going to get access to the underlying documents on a priority basis that we are supplying to them. That's their promise.
So you'll be able to see the unredacted report of Volume 2?
Other than the grand jury, remember, there are 4 reasons for redactions. One of them is grand jury information. That they didn't promise us. We have to go to court for that, which we will. But the other 3 parts on Volume 2, yes, so they say. And the underlying evidence on a prioritized basis as we establish priorities, which we've given them a priority list.
You or any staff begun reviewing this material?
The staff started reviewing it yesterday.
And what did they see yesterday? Can you shed any light on that?
I don't know. I haven't been briefed on that yet.
To be clear, are you waiting to go to court against the Attorney General to see the outcome of this process, or are you also going to proceed with that?
Oh, we're not going to go to court against the Attorney General unless, we're not going to go to court against the Attorney General so long as they, in good faith, do what they've said they were going to do. That's all we wanted. If they comply, they've agreed to do essentially what we asked. If they comply with that, then we're not going to go to court against him.
Mr.
Can I
Chairman.
follow up on the impeachment inquiry question? Before Mr. Cummings stepped away, half of you guys on the stage had either called publicly or privately start impeachment proceedings. Is that still something you guys are trying to do? And if so, at what point do you think that actually?
Well, I can only speak for me, and for me, all I'll say is I don't comment on private discussions.
What about inherent contempt? You guys, a number of you have talked about inherent contempt. and now this is obviously going to the courts. Do you plan to give it like a full year to see if you get a resolution, to get Don McGann up here? I mean, at what point do you say, this is gonna take too long and we need to try this inherent contempt?
Well, inherent contempt, I think, is a useful tool. I'm not sure it's a faster tool at all. And we're going to have to play that, well, we'll have to see on that.
Okay, well, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, what's your red line on calling publicly for impeachment?
I'm not going to get into that now.
How
do you have one?
I'm not
How
going
do
to
you
get into that.
characterize the documents that are going to be available? Are these witness interviews or these underlying reports?
All the above.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.